G'day. Um, wow. What do we say, eh? I'm still, it's not even 24 hours, but I'm still I'm very much on a high, pinching myself. I don't know, there's this level of so many emotions at the moment. There's this level of immense pride, um, but also I don't know, a fair deal of disbelief as well that things to things at this stage could have changed so dramatically over, like a 4 to 5 month period. We've been such a basket case for so long. We've followed a dysfunctional football team. We have supported a dysfunctional football club for so long, and to see us, I suppose, play in the manner in which we have, over the course of the pre-season in the practice matches, and then take it into the regular season last week against the Tigers, and then again last night. I'm still in a little bit of disbelief. I'm loving every minute of this journey thus far, and last night just took it to another level. And full credit to the club, from a holistic point of view, that to lose your coach and, lose, one of your better players, Adam Chera, to have all that, and not just the coach, but also some assistant coaches along the way, and to have that be a significant impact in regards to the preparation and see the way that our leaders were able to take control on the field. I'm just absolutely wrapped at the moment. I know there's such a long way to go, and there's going to be plenty of obstacles and hurdles throughout this season. But at the moment, we are, we've just got such belief, and absolutely wrapped on last night's performance. I've just written 5 points down, then I'm going to go through each player like I did last week. So the first point I want to make is that first half against a quality opposition was just pure modern day football. I haven't seen many teams play that way, and I do watch a lot of football, and I don't say that lightly. I really don't. I'm talking in particular that second quarter, that golden patch, in that term when we banged on those 4 goals. It was exhilarating. It was breathtaking. And then to have that 7-goal quarter also proved that last week's blistering finish against the Tigers was no fluke. We've done it again. And when we go, we fucking go. We really do. We appear almost impossible to stop. But obviously it starts the engine room, and our ability to move the ball with such sort of speed and precision is quite wonderful to see. We swarm the opposition in numbers. We give them no space to breathe. We suffocate them. Then we spread in these sort of magical waves, sort of moving forward. And as a Carlton forward, who wouldn't be licking their lips seeing that sort of unfold further up the field? And it's no wonder we score so heavily in that period of time. And on our forwards, it's more than just Harry and Charlie. We got the 4 points last week, without them having much of an impact at all. So let's put that on the table right here, right now. It's Silvani, it's De Conning, it's Owies, it's the Durden. And last night, Lockie Fogarty came in and played a role as well. It doesn't really matter who gets on the end of them. It really doesn't. Don't get me wrong. Both were huge, really huge. Harry in that first half, he was just mammoth. And then Charlie in the second half with his clutch finishes late. And he's probably not renowned for that, those clutch finishes. And we really needed them at really important times, steadiers. And then the last one, it was somewhat, I think, a sort of nail. Although the Dogs were coming, it was somewhat of a nail in the coffin for the Bulldogs. But don't underestimate the others at all, particularly the importance of Tom De Conning at the moment in allowing one of either Charlie or Harry rotating by pushing up the ground to become an outlet on the wing. I thought we did that really well last night. And what it allows us to do, having Tom in the team, is to keep our structure in the front half, particularly the structure intact inside forward 50 with two talls. De Koning provided that again last night. He hit the contest really hard. He was, he didn't get huge numbers, and they were big contests as well. And his time will come. I've got no doubt that his time will come to hit the scoreboard. He'll start to clunk a few. Point number 3, I thought we looked spent after half time. We really did. In fact, we looked gassed, exhausted, sucking in, trying to get the oxygen in. It just shows you how hard we actually worked in that first half. But the biggest sort of takeaway from me from that was building that handy lead in that first half. It just shows you the importance, and this is something we weren't able to do in previous years. When you have that momentum, you're in complete control of the game. You need to impact the scoreboard and really make the opposition pay it. And not. I just thought we did that really well once again, and we thoroughly deserved that buffer we had at half time. But we knew, and I think the players knew. They would have known at half time. I know Ash Hansen, who did a great job in the coach's box last night, would have known. He knows his Bulldogs team really well. We knew they were going to come, and they did. And they came really hard in that second half. So were we hanging on in the end? Did we get wobbly at the knees? There is no doubt it felt that way. In saying that, though, I thought we were able to take the sting out of the game at crucial times, critical times, just enough to hold the Bulldogs at bay. We changed the angles, we used the fat side, slowed the ball movement right down and kept possession. Last year against the Dogs, we remember the game. We remember the game. It was to attack, and to attack again. And David Teague said that before the game, that it was going to be a shootout. And in the end, they steamrolled us. This time, I would like to think it was on display. Not like to think it was on display. When the heat was on and they were coming, we found alternative gears. And we found a way. And we certainly did that last night. Point number 4, I mentioned in the preview that I was really confident. In fact, I was certain after our round 1 win against Richmond that we wouldn't get ahead of ourselves. And we didn't at all. Not for 1 second did we drink our own bathwater. For me, this was the most pleasing aspect of this performance. We backed it up from last week. Sure, the win was on the back of some scintillating and champagne football. That's what good teams do. They play that type of football. We're a very attractive team to watch when we're on like that. But at the very core, very core of this performance was pure hard work. And we were on from the opening bounce as well. We hunted the opposition early, and they somewhat folded in that second quarter. You could see it in our boys that they wanted to be out there. They wanted to own the occasion, and for the second week in a row, they wanted to own the big stage. And when we were challenged, and when the tables were turned, okay, in that second half, we became the hunted. Okay, in the first half, we were the hunter. In the second half, we became the hunted. And in past seasons, when we become the hunted, we would have folded. But this time we dug deep. And I think really deeper than we've ever dug before. And that was such an pleasing thing from this performance as well. Finally, and I love this aspect as well, this was the ultimate team performance, a professional team performance. And unlike last week, I thought last week was great. Don't get me wrong. I think we had more of an even distribution across the board in this game. You don't win games of football against high calibre opposition, okay, like the Western Bulldogs, unless everyone plays their part, everyone plays their role. There is an old football saying, when it's your time to go, you go. You go. Sure, we have a crack midfield and we have a couple of match winners up forward, who in the end, probably, when you think about it, were the difference between the two teams. But this win was as much about the blokes on the periphery, the O'Briens, the Fishers, the Newmans, just to name three, okay, even Pitnet as well. As much as it was about the blokes who were cracking the whip in that midfield and up forward. So absolutely fantastic win for the football club, 2 in a row. Let's go on to the players. I'll just run quickly through how I saw their performance. Jack, I thought he took his game to another level once again. He was good last week against the Tigers. Thought his ability to get his hands on the footy, push up the ground, like Harry and Charlie at times, he did become that outlet up on a wing. A couple of his knock-ons were fantastic. And I've been banging on about Jack for a while, about when it's his opportunity, he needs to hit the scoreboard and be clinical in front of the big sticks. I know he got one over the top, but his second goal in that third quarter came at a really, really crucial moment, a really good contested mark, and went back from 40. And they're the ones that Jack has missed in the past. And we need our forwards to be making the most of their opportunities, and I thought we did that last night. So another really good performance by Jack Silvani. I'm hoping it's a watershed moment for Lockie O'Brien. What did he add? 25 touches. That's a career best. A couple of tackles. That effort in the third quarter, I think it was, where he corralled 2 Western Bulldogs players. He wouldn't commit to either. Ended up being such a big play, a big moment in the game where he hunted down Ed Richards. Hopefully his confidence can grow. I think he had some lapse moments with his ball use. I don't think he's an elite kick at the moment. I know we want him to be elite kick. He has got the potential to be a very good kick, but I still think that's an area of his game. He needs to be more damaging by foot. But for the most part, I think it was an excellent performance by Lockie O'Brien on his wing. I thought he had a great tussle with Rourke. I really did. I think Rourke had him early, and I think O'Brien really worked his way into the game, particularly after half-time. He was a real presence. I don't like the playing for free kicks. I don't at all, and I particularly don't like that look. And I'm not going to pretend to like it. If I saw an opposition player doing exactly the same thing, I'd be into them. So, yeah, not a great look by Lockie, but a very good game from him. Zach Williams, thought he was good, really good. In fact, I probably thought he was in our best 8 players. This type of performance last year from one of our players would have seen him, in the top 3 players on the ground. But that's such the growth of this group at the moment, that there's such a high calibre of the way blokes are going about their business, that Williams' performance, I think, is probably going to go under the radar just a little bit. I thought his running ability, thought he got into really good spots. He still needs to tighten up on his ball use as well, but 27 touches from the back line. He looks fit at the moment. He looks strong. And I thought he was a little bit down last week against the Tigers. But this was a very good game of football by Zach Williams in the back half. Matthew Kennedy, thought he was... Look, I was surprised to see he had 9 touches at quarter time. I think he was a little bit quiet early. Had a huge last quarter. He just keeps plugging and plugging away. He got some clearances out of the middle, which were important. He had 6 for the game, not out of the middle, but 6 clearances overall. Probably wasn't as a bigger performance as he had against the Tigers, but just as important. And I think it's important that he's building that consistency in his game. And there hasn't been, he had a high quality performance against Melbourne in the community series. He's taken that into round 1. Now he's taken it again into a really important game against the Western Bulldogs. I thought Fogg was good. I really did. It's a very, very difficult position to play, that sort of high half-forward role. He sacrificed his game. He hit up hard, pushed up the ground, got back, got into dangerous spots, had an opportunity to kick a goal. He's not a great finisher. which is an area of his game he needs to work on. And he's probably going to be the first to get the chop, which is a little bit disappointing, because I think he came in and played a really significant role for us. I thought he was pretty good, Lockie Fogarty, on the night. Cripper, well, what can you say? I don't think I've seen a better half of football that first half from a player in such a long time. He was absolutely everywhere, hitting the scoreboard. Just the way he's breaking away from the stoppages is, and the way he's gliding across the turf, that big frame of his. It's just so good to see. Couldn't have been happier for him. The warrior bandaged up with the blood sort of seeping through the bandage. He was big late in the game, got back defensively to help out. And he led. He led on field. Without Vossi being there. He took on that responsibility. He took on that on-field responsibility to lead the troops, and just another best on-ground performance by Cripper. 11 clearances, 35 touches. Huge game. The left foot, mate, gee, I think he tried it about 2 or 3 times last night. It might have to go, the old left foot by Patrick Cripps, but what a game, what a performance. Harry, bang, bang. Big first half. I thought he was, with Cripper, the most influential player on the ground in that first half. He loves the doggies. He dines out on them. Whether it's Keith or Gardner or Cordy, he's just too big. He's too strong. He looked engaged last night. I think I mentioned it before. This Harry and Charlie rotating up the ground, allowing one to stay deep, one to push up to become that outlet. It's working really well. And just that big presence forward of the centre, and the separation. I thought he got great separation from his defenders, which comes from quick ball movement further up the ground. And there was plenty of space in front of him to work as well. And I thought, for the most part, his hands last night were excellent. Thought it was another really solid performance by Mitch, particularly Mitch McGovern, that is, in that third quarter. There were a couple of intercept grabs, one in the pocket, which was fantastic. Reminded me of his brother sort of floating across the front. I loved the hit. I think it was on Anthony Scott. It was a big bone-crunching bunt. He's going to be lucky if he gets a week for that. I'd be furious if he gets a week for that. Fine at best, but that's the type of aggression that we need from our players. In-play aggression. In play. Another really, really solid performance by Mitch McGovern. The only thing was the back chatting. I was worried when he gave that away, and then another free kick later on, he wanted to go on with it. I'm thinking, fuck, runner, get out there and tell him to fucking shut up. The last thing we wanted was to cop a 50-metre penalty. But I love our players doing that. Playing on the edge. And I think Mitch McGovern's always played on the edge. And he's been really, really solid in the first 2 games of the year. Mentioned De Conning's game before, not big numbers. He's had the 10 hit out, so he did his job around the ground when the opportunity arose in the ruck. Only had the 6 possessions and just I think he only had the 1 mark for the night, Tom De Conning. A couple of grabs. I think he had a contested grab last night, but he's providing that contest forward to centre. That's going to be important for us, not to be outmarked in our back half, and having both either Harry and De Conning or Charlie and De Conning there enables us to do that. And I thought his contest work and his tackling for a big guy was pretty impressive. Doherty, look, I didn't think he was good as last week, but he had the same sort of moments. A couple of really good intercept grabs, good late. He looked a little bit off at times, but he still picked up your 25 touches, and he still was a really good player. But I didn't think it was as polished performance it was last week, but very important for it as well. Good to see Sam Walsh back as well, but I thought his 34 possessions were a tad, not overrated, in that you look at those numbers and think, well, he's had just such a big game. I didn't think he used the ball at all well, particularly by foot. He only had the 11 kicks. He did hit up a really good kick, I think, to Charlie in that, was it the last quarter, on the lead. Inside forward 50, I think he got a handball from Cripper out of the centre, which was a really nice kick, but he kicked a lot around his body. It just seemed to be a fraction off the pace. Even by hand, he had the 23 handballs and only 217 metres gained. It was an inside game by Sam Walsh. I think for us, he's going to be more damaging if we can get him on the outside. But I do understand that without Chera being there, he probably had to take on a little bit more responsibility in that regard. But I thought he just looked a little bit off the pace. And that's understandable, missed a large chunk of the preseason. Durden, pretty quiet. Well down on last week's impact. Just didn't really see him getting to the right spots in regards to being at the feet of the big guys. Was he responsible for Caleb Daniel, who I thought got going in that second half? He did a couple of really good chases, a couple of a really big hit in that first quarter. Look, 6 disposals, didn't hit the scoreboard. Look, he's not going to want to put a lot of those sort of performances together in a row, but he's only young, second year at the football club. He's becoming valuable because I thought the other guy had his moment, and that was Matthew Owies, who I'll get to in a minute. Plowman came in. Was I surprised he was a sub? No, he gives you a little bit of experience. Was he okay when he came on? Look, I thought he had a really, really good contest with Marcus Bontempelli late in the game. Bont wins that one every day of the week against the Lockie Plowman in the air, but I thought he did well there. But there was a time in that last quarter early where, and I think the Dogs got a goal from it, maybe in the first goal of that last quarter, where he let Ugle Hagen, who was his direct opponent, just lead him up to the football. He was like a mile behind. And that is classic Lockie Plowman. It's almost like he's very slow to react. Be interesting to see what happens with Lockie Plowman, whether there is a long-term injury to Oscar McDonald, and what we do in that regards. That we now have a look at Lewis Young. Weeders, I thought, did a pretty good job. Tough opponent. Norton's a very tough opponent. Gave away some free kicks. Maybe one was unlucky, but got caught wrestling. But I thought his positioning at times was really good. I don't think he's in super form at the moment, Jacob Wiedering, but I think he's obviously, from a leadership point of view, he's playing an important role down back. But I don't think he's in absolute stellar form. There was one really good spoil he did, which opened up the play for us. And then moments later, he did a sort of a half sort of spoil, which resulted in a turnover for the Western Bulldogs. So I don't think he's at the top of his game. But yeah, I think he's obviously playing a really important leadership role down back. Nick Newman, I thought he was good. I thought he was actually really good, and it's one of the better actually games I've seen him play for the football club. Although his first year at the club was good, and he did have that long-term injury. But I actually thought he was really composed last night. I know he was probably part of a few of those sort of shaky chains in our back half late in the game. But when the heat was on in that third quarter and we wanted just to slow the tempo down a minute, I thought he won some really important loose ball gets in the back half, and then was able just to, chip it wide with smart ball use. So I actually liked his game. I'm not quite sure defensively who he had, whether he had a Hannon or a Cody Waitman who are okay, but geez, it's hard to keep your opposition down, particularly when they're coming at you pretty hard, which the Bulldogs did in that second half. Best game of football I've seen Zach Fisher play. Nothing flashy, only the 205 metres game, but I just thought he was steady, and I just thought he was particularly strong at the contest. Didn't, I suppose, have huge tackle numbers, but I just thought his pressure was really good. And he finished that goal in the second quarter from 45 metres out. and he needs to do that. And I like to see him at a few centre bounces. I like to see us mix that up through the middle. I think he's building. I think he's building something quite nice at the moment, Zach Fisher. I think he's just sort of, like a few others, just sort of floating under the radar. And it's not something we're going to get overly excited about. Like, wow, look what Zach Fisher's doing. Unlike a Matthew Kennedy, Zach Fisher's just sort of building quite nicely and doing some really good things for the team. Pitt was good. I don't know. It was funny when I thought English was really good for the Dogs as well. His ability to push forward, made Pitt accountable, but 31 hit-outs. Thought he just got his hands on the ball at the centre bounce. Would like to see him take a few more marks around the ground, but just his contest work at ground level, he's really worked on that side of his game. He just gives us such an honest sort of performance and output at the moment. That's 2 weeks in a row. He's going to make a mistake here or there. Big guys do. The thing I've noticed about Pitt is he's got this sort of inward aggression at the moment. When he first came to the football club, it was all a bit bravado. I remember there was that smiling, and that sort of just carrying on a little bit. Look at me, I'm a big sort of strong guy, But this is, he's playing football. He's playing football. He's making the ball his main objective. He's looking after his teammates at ground level. And there's no carry-on with Mark Pitnet at the moment, which I really like. Hewitt, what a pickup. That last quarter. I don't like to say without George Hewitt, you're not going to win that game. But, when our sort of midfield just dropped away a fraction in that second half, he almost, for me, was the constant presence. Just his ability as well at ground level. He's clean. He's got that great sort of low centre of gravity, strong, strong in the hip region. He's a really, really solid footballer, George Hewitt. Just another really good game by him. 32 touches, 7 disposals. Did a lot of work, a lot of grunt work, particularly late in that game. I mean, who couldn't be happier for Charlie? And, not the carry-on either. I mean, he was excited after his goals, but not the carry-on. It was like, okay, let's get the job done. Let's get the job done off kick 5, but the game's not over. I need to nail this goal. Okay, I've got an opportunity on the boundary. I need to nail this. I need to make the most of this opportunity. I need to concentrate. There's a couple of occasions there. I think there was one where he kicked into the man on the mark. He made a couple of sort of wrong decisions going inside forward 50. But, like 5 goals from his centre half forward. He moved beautifully, marked strongly, and kicked wonderfully well. McDonald, I was disappointed he went off. I hope it's not a reoccurrence of last year's back injury. I really don't. We know that derailed his whole season. Look, he had not a very good moment there early in the game, but he took a couple of nice grabs. He had 9 touches. I think he's important for us because he's solid at the moment, and I think we can at least trust him. So I'm fingers crossed, that's not a really serious injury. Sardi again, he was the one with Newman who I thought the ball use. I know he had a shocking one late, but he wasn't the only one. But in that third quarter, he was the one just going wide to Lockie O'Brien, finding that outlet on the wing and just sort of moving it slowly. I thought, and his contest work as well, just so strong. Adam Sard, another really good game by him, 22 touches across half back. Thought Will Setterfield started like a house on fire. Wasn't as good late in the game. I don't know if he was just dead on his feet, but he certainly he's played actually 10 minutes. He's actually played a little bit more time than what he did last week on his wing. Thought he won his wing in that first half. I thought he's actually a real presence, particularly by hand. And I thought his ball use was really good. Will Setterfield, he's starting to so I suppose hold down that position. But he's got a fair bit of work to still do. But for the most part, I think when the game was there in that first half, I think he was up and about. Just would have liked to see him maybe do a little bit more in that last quarter when the heat was really on. But he's had the 23 disposals, and I thought Owies was good, particularly in that first half. Where Durden sort of missed out and Durden got going last week, I thought Owies was the real presence in regards to being that small forward. I know he's only kicked the one. I just thought he was really busy in our front half. Oh, that's about it, guys. We get a 9-10 day break now, which is just a chance to take a breath. Just a chance to take a breath. Enjoy. I'm going to enjoy it. As I said already, I trust this group now. I trust this group that they're not going to get ahead of themselves. I really do. I think they're made of the right stuff in regards to the way Cripper's obviously leading this group. And I think they really want to achieve things together. How far that's going to take us this year, we're just going to have to wait and see. We've got the Hawks next week, which should be another tough contest. So I'll be back shortly to preview that. See you soon.